everyone, Adrienne here. So today we are going to be doing a book review, though it isn't exactly gothic. As a matter of fact, it's related to one of my greatest passions, which is absinthe. And to fit the spirit of today's video, pardon the pun, I am going to be drinking a glass of Lucid Absinthe Supérieure during this review because it is honestly like my favorite go-to everyday absinthe for whatever I like, whether it's just, a glass in the traditional method or if it is a cocktail. It's a really good overall absinthe, so a good one to have in your arsenal. And this absinthe, of course, is made by my good friend Ted Bro, and it was the first absinthe that was allowed on the US market since 1912, the first genuine absinthe. Keep that in mind. So while my absinthe is preparing, I'm going to talk a little bit about the book that we're going to be reviewing today. So the author of this book actually reached out to me. Her name is Jamie Pacton, and she asked if I was interested in reading her young adult fantasy novel, The Absinthe Underground. First of all, can we just talk about how gorgeous this cover is? It is definitely in aesthetic line with the world that she created. So The Absinthe Underground is a sapphic romance taking place in a world that is inspired by Paris in the 1890s, and you know what? I really enjoyed it. While I wasn't necessarily this book's target audience, I still really enjoyed it. So let's talk a little bit about it. So, The Absinthe Underground tells the story of Sybil and Esme, two young women living in a flat inside of a clock tower in their city of Sevron. And Sybil was born into a wealthy family, though ran away from home at a very young age to live among the lower classes, and having an incredible knack for stealing things. Okay, interesting start. Esme, however, was born to a single mother who was a cabaret performer that died at a very young age. Esme followed in her mother's footsteps for a good while, but later escaped from that life to work as a waitress at a cafe, where she eventually met Sybil. Esme enjoys repairing clocks and drinking mint tea at home amongst their many cats, making a life plan for eventually living in a cottage by the sea, while Sybil yearns for the next thieving job and to mingle amongst the exciting nightlife of Sevron. And while out stealing posters to sell to a merchant who sells them to art collectors, Esme and Sybil steal a poster advertising a very exclusive nightclub, the Absinthe Underground, hoping to just fetch a pretty price for it. However, they get far more than what they bargained for. At the office of the merchant who sells their stolen posters, they meet the model of the poster they just stole and the owner of the Absinthe Underground. Ooh, busted. In exchange for not handing the young woman over to the authorities, the club owner offers Sybil and Esme exclusive passes to the Absinthe Underground and also commissions the pair for a heist job that is not of this world. They're whisked away to the fairy world and are in for many surprises. Will the girls find what they've been searching and longing for all this time? Only time will tell. There were some things I enjoyed about this book. I really enjoyed the backstories of both of the girls really contributing to their character development throughout the story. That was very cleverly and well crafted, in my opinion. I thought it was great. I also really enjoyed the descriptions of both the Absinthe Underground and the fairy realm. The Absinthe Underground sounded like a place that I would totally go to, like, no joke. And there were some really intense moments that really had me on the edge of my seat, which, is something I didn't necessarily expect for a young adult novel, but hey, I was pleasantly surprised. I will say I was a bit disappointed that the author described the fire or bohemian preparation ritual for absinthe toward the beginning of the story for a world that is supposed to be inspired by and based on 1890s France. This was absolutely not a practice. There's no photographic or artistic evidence that this was ever a thing, unfortunately. And this did not become a practice until the 1990s when fake absinthe was prevalent in the Czech Republic. I wish the author clarified about this at the end of the book, but I appreciate that they reassured new readers, so to speak, that absinthe wasn't hallucinogenic, toxic, or dangerous when consumed properly and responsibly, just like any other alcohol. I absolutely cannot stress this enough. Again, please do not set your absinthe on fire. You're just asking for singed eyebrows and broken glass. It is incredibly dangerous to set high-proof spirits on fire. And call me crazy, but singed eyebrows and broken glass really don't sound like a lot of fun. And in my personal opinion, I think it would have been a really fun opportunity to have the main characters observing and greatly admiring the mystical, transformative beauty of water being added to absinthe in the traditional French drip ritual. Another thing I wasn't really a fan of was one of the characters encouraging Esme and Sybil to drink absinthe straight, which is absolutely not recommended. Please don't do that. I also appreciated that the author shared with us some background and history that inspired the story as a whole. For the precocious young readers that will come across this story, much like I was when I was the target age demographic for this novel, I can see this being an excellent springboard for those readers who want to do more research about the Belle Époque, poster thieves, nightlife, and absinthe. However, I wish the author used her research to properly represent what the absinthe scene was actually like over a century ago. Another one of my pet peeves is people who insist and are under the very, in my opinion, mistaken impression that absinthe was only enjoyed by the upper classes. That was not true back then. And yes, I understand why people may think that just because of how expensive absinthe does tend to be nowadays compared to how it was back then. Back then, it was actually cheaper than wine, which is kind of shocking. But back in the Belle Époque, absinthe was actually less expensive than wine to make, because at one point wine was really scarce. So this idea that absinthe was enjoyed by only the upper classes and like the aristocrats of society and everything like that back then, not necessarily true. And that's one of the things I love about absinthe is it was something that was enjoyed by everyone. Everyone loved absinthe. Didn't matter what class you were. So that all being said, sorry for the little tangent, but if you want a nice quick read and some good fantasy, I highly recommend this book. However, even as a queer woman almost in my 30s, I found things in this novel that I really, really enjoyed. If you have a queer young adult or teen in your life that enjoys history and or fantasy novels, and perhaps has some curiosity about the Belle Époque or about absinthe, I can recommend this. I give it my stamp of approval. As of filming this today, no joke, I'm 7 weeks away from turning 30. That's wild. Oh, that's wild. But I'm going to be kicking off my 30s in a very, very special way. I might as well announce it here. Kenny and I are actually going to be taking a trip to France at the end of September to celebrate not only my 30th birthday, which is super exciting, but we are also going to be celebrating our 3rd wedding anniversary. So yeah, it's going to be a really big deal. It's my first trip to Europe. I've never been to Europe before, and it's my very first trip to France, and it's going to be a really good time. I can't wait to tell you guys all about it. So with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will leave all the relevant links for the Absinthe Underground and Jamie Pacton in the description below so that you can go check it out for yourself. Make sure that you're subscribed and make sure you also hit that bell for notifications so that you can be notified every single time I make a video and post it here. And it's going to be content about absinthe, content about the goth subculture, gothic literature, sometimes even opera, you never know. And thank you so much to my patrons for your support every single month. I really, really appreciate it. I cannot do what I do here without you. And to everyone, you're amazing. I love you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!